I'm Noah, overseeing the family-owned public bathhouse passed down from my grandfather. Together with my wife Emma, we experienced a pivotal moment with a child. On an early spring evening, still carrying a lingering chill, past 9 o'clock after our last customer had left, Emma and I were wrapping up the day's work at the bathhouse. While Emma attended to the interior cleaning, I headed towards the entrance. As I approached the garbage disposal area a little distance away, I noticed a small figure. Under the streetlight's glow, I discerned a disheveled girl sorting through the trash. Intrigued, I wondered if she was searching for something. Given the late hour, I decided to approach her. Summoning Emma, we both walked towards the girl by the garbage disposal. Upon closer inspection, despite the chilly weather requiring a jacket, the girl wore only thin long sleeves, a skirt, and sneakers that were too big, causing her to crush the heels. Her appearance shocked us both. Addressing the girl cautiously, I asked, "Miss, what are you looking for at this late hour?" Startled, the girl turned towards us. Her shoulder-length hair, frizzy like a child's, and overgrown bangs hiding her eyes, gave her a neglected appearance. She replied, "I'm hungry." To avoid frightening her, I spoke gently, suggesting she come to our place. I'd offered to call her parents, but when asked for her home phone number, she shook her head vigorously. Understanding her fear of strangers, I proposed waiting together until we could contact someone from her home. Assuming she had mistaken us for strangers due to the late hour, I was surprised when she revealed, "My mom hasn't come back for about 3 days. I'm waiting for her to return, but I'm hungry." Alarmed by the possibility of abuse or neglect, I suggested involving the police. However, the mention of the police made her instantly wary, expressing dislike for them. Concerned, we continued the conversation, only to hear a gurgling sound from her stomach. At that moment, Emma asked, "How long has it been since you've eaten? Are you hungry?" I scanned for any available food, realizing I hadn't eaten since morning. Neither my wife nor I knew how to respond to the girl's revelation. She hadn't eaten all day, searching through the trash in the late hours while clad in thin clothing. The grim reality of her situation weighed heavily on us. In a surprising turn, my wife suggested, "Would you like to come to our home?" Her words startled me. Taking a stranger's child home without involving the police could lead to complications later. I glanced at my wife, wondering if she grasped the potential risks. She met my gaze and said, "I understand what you're thinking. As adults, it's the right thing to involve the police. However, I can't ignore a shivering and hungry child standing right in front of me." Her perspective resonated with me, and I made a decision. We could take the reluctant girl to the police tomorrow. But for now, the immediate concern was providing a warm place and satisfying her hunger. With a reassuring smile, I extended my hand to the hesitant girl, saying, "It's okay. Come to our place." After a moment of hesitation, the girl reached out and took my hand. My wife took the girl's other hand, and the three of us, hand in hand, headed back to the bathhouse. Upon our return, we learned the girl's name was Mia. While my wife took Mia into the bath, I prepared some clothes. Mia's current attire was dirty and too cold-looking, so I selected suitable replacements from my wife's wardrobe: a pair of drawstring pants, a shirt, and a jacket. The drawstrings on the pants would secure them in place. Swiftly, I rushed to the convenience store to purchase small women's underwear, ensuring Mia had everything she needed. I also grabbed the toothbrush before finishing my preparations. By the time I was done, my wife and Mia emerged from their bath. The clothes and underwear appeared a bit oversized, but Mia managed to put them on. The once pale-faced girl now looked more like a child, her complexion returning after the bath. Her washed and dried hair was smoother, though her bangs were too long. My wife secured them with a pin, revealing the lovely face hidden beneath. I asked, "Did you warm up?" Mia nodded eagerly, expressing excitement. She shared her experience of the bath, likening it to a big pool and expressing her delight at the warmth. Her smiling demeanor reassured me. While I dried Mia's hair, my wife prepared a meal. The bathhouse and our house were adjacent, So once we finished, we moved next door. My wife served a warm pot filled with vegetables, meatballs, and yudo noodles. The sight of the dish made Maya's eyes sparkle. "Can I really eat this?" she asked. My wife chuckled and encouraged her to have seconds. Maya proceeded to eat heartily, using a fork and spoon as she wasn't accustomed to chopsticks. "This is delicious. It's been a while since I ate warm food," Maya remarked, reflecting on the environment she had endured until now. My chest swelled with a mix of emotions, feeling like it was about to burst. Maya seemed to be opening up and trusting us a little. Once her stomach was filled, she began sharing her story. She spoke about her rarely seen mother, her routine of rummaging through garbage for food, and her status as a 7-year-old in first grade. Mia didn't have a school bag, and her shoes and clothes were often dirty. The heartbreaking reason behind her absence from school surfaced. She was bullied for being perceived as smelly. As a couple, Mia's narrative struck us profoundly. "I like it here. I want to sleep here." "Are you going to call the police?" she asked. Without hesitation, my wife and I wanted Mia to experience at least one night of warmth and rest. Reassuring her, I said, "It's okay. Let's sleep together on a fluffy bed tonight. But could you go to the police with us tomorrow?" "Don't worry, they are kind. Your mom might be worried too." Mia, who had been silent for a while, rubbed her sleepy eyes and expressed, "I hope so. I hope she is worried, Mom." I wanted to comfort her, but I couldn't easily speak positively about a mother who had likely abandoned her child. Temporary comfort might hurt her later. In the room, I prepared the bedding, and Mia happily got into the bed. It was her first time sleeping in such a fluffy bed, and she marveled at its warmth. Concerned about her being cold, she mentioned, "I hope she is not cold. It will be nice if she could sleep in a warm bed too." Silently shedding tears, my wife and I were moved by her brave concern for a mother who left her without food. I struggled to hide my emotions from Mia, who was already drifting into sleep. The next day, my wife and I accompanied Mia to the police box. I couldn't forget the slightly lonely look on her face as we said our goodbyes. Saying goodbye to Mia and her mother was a bittersweet moment. Despite the lump in my throat, I managed to offer a smile. "Yeah, hopefully we'll see each other again someday. The police will take good care of you from here, so you have nothing to worry about," I reassured Mia, who nodded in understanding. As we departed from the police box, my wife hugged Mia tightly, waving at us with a smile. Maya left an indelible mark on our hearts. Though we had grown close to her in just one night, bidding farewell was a painful experience. On the journey home, my wife expressed deep concern about Mia's future. We were a childless couple who had once dreamed of having 3 kids. However, fertility issues, specifically ovulation problems, plagued us. Despite a decade of infertility treatments, we remained childless. We decided to cherish our time as a couple, having tired of the emotional roller coaster associated with conceiving. Our focus shifted, and we lived a quiet life together. Our own struggles made us particularly sensitive to the suffering of children at the hands of neglectful parents. Unable to shake our worries about Mia, we contacted the police box where we had left her. They informed us that Mia's mother had not returned, and Mia was headed to a children's home. Due to our role in finding her, we learned the name of the facility. Promptly, my wife and I visited Mia at the children's home, discovering a multitude of children separated from their parents for various reasons. Mia, upon seeing us, immediately embraced my wife, expressing, "Aren't you and your wife going to stay with me? They said my mom might not come back." Stunned by her words, we covered up her straightforward question with a forced smile. Despite the emotional bond formed in that short time, the reality was clear. We couldn't live with Mia. After all, we were strangers, but when we spoke to the children's home staff, the story took an unexpected turn. Upon leaving, we were introduced to the concepts of foster care and adoption. Sensing a pivotal moment, I glanced at my wife, who met my gaze with earnest eyes and nodded in agreement. That marked the moment we decided to explore these avenues. Learning about foster care and adoption that day prompted us to sign the necessary documents. For children like Mia, who had recently arrived at the children's home, obtaining permission from the family court was deemed necessary for adoption or foster care procedures. Fortunately, that permission was granted without any complications at a later date. Following this, we actively engaged in training and seminars to become adoptive parents, leading to busy days. During this period, we occasionally visited Mia, gradually building a connection with her. During one visit, we mustered the courage to ask Mia, "How would you feel if we said we want to live together as a family in place of your mom?" Her response was heartwarming. "I'd be so happy," Maya answered with a beaming smile. It was a moment that fueled our determination. While a traditional mother experiences the blessing of nurturing a child in her womb, we lacked that natural process to become Mia's parents and witness more of her joy. We set a goal and combined our efforts to overcome the challenges of busy days. However, a day of unexpected turmoil arrived. We received a call from the children's home staff, urgently inquiring about Mia's whereabouts. It turned out she had slipped out of the facility. Both my wife and I rushed to search for her. The distance between the children's home and the apartment where Mia used to live, now our home, added to our anxiety. Fearing the worst scenarios, we received a message that Mia had been found by the police. Hurriedly, we went to see Mia upon her return to the children's home. As we arrived, Mia's tear-streaked face told a story of her recent experience. "I want to go to where you guys are. I want to eat meals together again and take a bath like in a swimming pool." Mia expressed, her words filled with longing. My wife and I were rendered speechless, embracing her tiny body tightly. This incident served as a catalyst, intensifying our desire to become a family with Mia. As time passed and Mia regained her composure, we made her promise not to leave the children's home alone due to our concerns. We reiterated our intention to take Mia into our care to the staff. Subsequently, the procedures took more than half a year to complete. Finally, as a couple who had undergone special adoption, we were able to bring Mia home. Fast forward 4 years, and my wife, Mia, and I were living joyfully. Mia was no longer cold or hungry. Each day, she cheerfully went to school with a neat school bag on her back. However, shortly before Mia's birthday, a letter arrived from her biological mother, expressing a desire to meet Mia on her birthday. Without hesitation, Mia agreed to the meeting. Though we felt uneasy as parents, Mia was already in 6th grade, an age where she could make decisions for herself. We respected her choice. On the day of the reunion, Mia went alone to the designated cafe. Anxiously waiting for her return, she came home after about 2 hours, her demeanor unchanged. According to Mia, her biological mother had remarried and seemed genuinely happy. Maya felt relieved to see her mother happy and expressed her love and understanding, despite being left behind. Seeing Maya's determination, we felt proud and relieved that we could continue living with her. The 3 of us decided to celebrate Mia's birthday by buying a cake together. Holding hands, Maya looked a bit embarrassed but complied. Reflecting on the journey from the day we found Mia rummaging through the garbage to our walks hand in hand to the public bath, we realized how much she had grown. Maya would continue to grow, but she would always be our precious daughter. As I etched this happy moment into my heart, I knew that we would continue to walk together as a family of 3, cherishing each step of the journey. Starting tomorrow, please refrain from coming in. The manager, the boss's daughter, briskly informed me the moment I stepped into the office. Her disdain for me was palpable, though the extent of it caught me off guard. Stunned, I resolved to comply with her directive. Days passed, each one marked by the manager's relentless antagonism towards me. Assigned to the planning department, a position I had eagerly sought since joining the company, I devoted myself diligently to my tasks, yet my efforts were constantly undermined by the manager, who, being the president's daughter, wielded unchecked authority. One morning, summoned by the manager, I found myself subjected to her condescending scrutiny. "Do you even know why you're here?" she sneered. Her contempt for my alma mater, repeatedly dismissed as low-ranking, permeated her every word. The sense of alienation among my colleagues compounded my discomfort. Effective immediately, your presence here is no longer required, she declared, her tone dripping with disdain. Her entourage echoed her derision, amplifying my humiliation. Am I being fired? I ventured, my voice betraying a mix of disbelief and resignation. The manager's response, laced with arrogance, left no room for doubt. Resigned to my fate, I swiftly completed the necessary resignation formalities. Months later, settled into a new role at a different company, I was inundated with pleas from my former employer to return. The president's desperation contrasted starkly with the manager's callous indifference. Reluctantly, I reached out to the president, who implored me to reconsider. Despite his earnestness, I couldn't overlook the systemic injustice I had endured. The company's pleas fell on deaf ears as I resolved to forge ahead without looking back. I am no longer associated with that company, I asserted, my intention to end the call evident. We can sort this out if we talk. I'll bring my daughter along next time so we can discuss this. The president countered before I disconnected without a reply. I intended to call back later. Upon arriving at work, I was informed of visitors. Doubtful, I made my way to the reception room, only to find the former company's president and the manager waiting. You really came, and how do you know I'm working at this company? I questioned, surprised. The company I currently work for is a rival of my previous one. Hey, Ben, I used my connections to find you. For now, just take a seat, the president insisted. Reluctantly, I complied, meeting the manager's gaze, wondering if she had truly come to apologize. Suddenly, she slammed her hand on the table. This makes no sense. Why should I have to come all this way for someone like him? She exclaimed, her tone accusatory. Excuse me, if you want to talk, you should be the one coming to me, she continued, her agitation palpable. Far from apologizing, she was yelling at me. I don't really have anything to say, she ranted. It's ridiculous to quit just because you got a little scolded at work. Quit because I was scolded? What do you mean? I gave advice on your plan, but you didn't want to take it, so you quit. That's not how a professional behaves, she insisted, her words bewildering. I couldn't comprehend what the manager was saying. That's not how it happened. I was suddenly told not to come to the company, I interjected, trying to clarify. You think just because I'm the president's daughter, I got my position through connections, and you don't want to take advice from me, she continued, unfazed by my explanation. The manager kept spouting nonsense without caring about what I had to say. Wait, that's not true. You never even looked at my plans, I retorted, frustration mounting. Dad, I've been enduring until now, but I can't anymore. He always looked down on me because I'm a woman, she accused, her tone laden with resentment. Got mad for a little scolding, saying that. The manager ignored my words, acting as if she sought comfort from the president. My daughter was treated like that. None of that is true. So you're saying her crying is a lie? The president interjected, disappointment evident in his voice. I'm disappointed, Ben. I didn't think you were that kind of person, he added, his words piercing. Moreover, it's outrageous to get re-employed by a rival company. The manager concluded, her disdain palpable. I truly wanted to continue working in the same field. That's why I made the difficult decision to join this company. That was the truth. Even after joining the planning department I aspired for, I was completely ignored by the manager and never got the chance to prove my capabilities. However, I couldn't bring myself to leave this industry, and my current company welcomed me. You must have sold our company's information to get this job, right? Why else would they hire someone as incompetent as you? The manager accused. I did no such thing. I've maintained confidentiality, and this company never asked me for any information. People can say anything. In fact, our company has. Stop. Don't say another word, the president hastily interrupted, signaling to the manager to halt. Was she about to say something they didn't want me to hear? Such a useless person. This company should fire him. A low-ranked individual only brings shame. If Ben apologizes, I might consider taking him back. I'll even reassign him to the planning department if he wishes. For now, we don't need someone like him. Just bear with it and continue as usual. We'll manage. Then, I want a raise. The two of them continued discussing without any regard for my opinion. Despite my repeated expressions of unwillingness to return, I was being told to apologize and be forgiven. The frustration of being treated like a fool left me trembling. The manager noticed and sneered. "Are you crying with joy? It figures. Low-ranked individuals really can't help themselves. You really are a kind soul, aren't you?" She mocked. "Sure, I am. Taking someone like him back is nothing short of generous. Just make sure you don't irritate me too much. Make sure you listen to your boss, okay?" "I have no intention of leaving this company," I asserted. "You still don't get it. I'm offering to take care of you before you get fired for incompetence. You really are clueless. That's the way it is. But don't quit over a little scolding this time," the president added dismissively. The mocking continued. Saying that, the president and the manager mocked me. "Mr. President, if I may be so bold, the manager is lying." I spoke up, desperate. "After all we've been saying, you're taking this attitude." "I'm not lying. That's quite the accusation." "Do you have any evidence to back that up?" "Yes, I prepared this just in case," I said and took a voice recorder out of my bag. I had recorded not only the day the manager told me to leave, but also any other occasions when she had said something unreasonable. "You've been recording me? Unbelievable." At the sight of the voice recorder, the manager visibly panicked. "Dad, we don't need to listen to this. Let's just go. Then I'll play it." I played the recording, making sure the manager, who was attempting to leave, could hear it. The recording unmistakably captured the manager's voice instructing me not to come to the company. "What's the meaning of this?" "My daughter was lying." "It's a lie," the president explained. Undeterred, I went on to reveal all the unfair treatment I had endured from the manager. The recording included the sound of my proposal being torn up, the manager and her aunt bad-mouthing me during work hours, and the crucial exchange where I asked why my proposals were never reviewed. Her reply stung. "They're from a low-ranked individual like you. Your ideas are as expected." It was undeniable proof that the manager had been lying. "By the way, this is the proposal that the manager tore up," I said, handing a freshly printed proposal to the president. He took it, visibly shaken, and started reading. "No way. It's the plan for the hit product this company is currently selling," he explained. "This project was one I had poured my heart and soul into, hoping for the manager's approval, but all my efforts had been in vain. The proposal was torn up without even being read." "Why did you reject this proposal? You didn't even look at it," I demanded. The manager shrugged it off. "Well, his proposals were always so pathetic. I thought there was no need to read them. It's his fault for always behaving badly." I wasn't satisfied and handed another set of documents to the president. "Most of them were products developed since I moved to my current company, so it's all true," I explained. "These were Ben's plans," the president confirmed. "Yes, I worked hard, hoping to be recognized by the manager, but not once did she look at my proposals." I questioned the manager's actions, bewildered by the disregard for my efforts. "I'm not the one at fault here," the manager retorted. The president, regaining his composure, addressed the potential copyright violation. "Wait, these plans were all developed by this company, right? That's a violation of copyright law. What are you going to do about that? Indeed, if we sue, we'll win, right?" he challenged. The president, who had been flustered until then, suddenly seemed to regain his composure and retorted. The manager looked at me as if to say she'd gotten the upper hand. "Manager, don't you remember? When I left, you promised to transfer all the copyrights of my projects to me, didn't you?" I confronted her. "I never said that." "I don't remember," she denied. Unfazed, I presented evidence. "You're probably going to say you recorded it, right? What's the point of such verbal agreement?" "No, it's not just that. I got it in writing with your signature." I said that. I began, presenting a piece of paper to the manager. It clearly stated that the copyrights belonged to me, acknowledged and signed by her. What? I don't remember signing this. The manager seemed flustered upon seeing the document. When I submitted my resignation paperwork, I included this document and got your signature on all the papers. That's sneaky. Making me sign something hidden, I accused. If it wasn't hidden, didn't you even read the documents you were signing? I pressed. The manager's face turned pale. Oh no, this document states I hold all the copyrights. I see, I understand. It seems my daughter was really in the wrong, the president interjected, casting a disapproving glance at the manager. Dad, don't say such terrible things. Shut up. Do you have any idea how much profit you've cost us? The manager retorted. Ignoring her outburst, the president turned to me. Ben, won't you please consider coming back to our company? I promise to offer you a higher position than before, one better than your current company can provide. What about me then? You were not ready for the manager position. Start from the beginning again. The president's words made the manager crumble. But such things no longer mattered to me. The president was desperately trying to win me over. So, what do you say? Have you changed your mind about returning? There's no one left to give you a hard time anymore, you know, the president urged, his eyes gleaming. Wanting to leave the situation, I asked him a question. There's something I want to ask. Sure, ask me anything, the president replied eagerly. It hasn't been long since I left your company, so why are you so desperate to bring me back now? I questioned. The president's voice suddenly faded, and he began to make excuses. We've been very busy recently. I thought about addressing it sooner, but I couldn't find the time. Sorry, he stumbled over his words. I didn't miss the president's eyes darting around as he made excuses. Is that so? Because it seemed like you were mostly playing golf when I was working there, I remarked pointedly. That was necessary for business networking. If you want, I can take you with me from now on, the president offered. No, that's all right. Feel free to reach out anytime, I declined. You're going to be our star player from now on, the president continued, talking as if my return to the company was a foregone conclusion, though he was making concessions. The pressure of not going against the president weighed heavily on me. There must be a reason you want me back in the company so badly. Reason. It's nothing grand. I just want to make things right for you, especially since my daughter caused you trouble. The president smoothly dodged the issue, but I could see through his facade. The president's real motive was clear, rendering this all a futile effort. Our company's performance had been growing, while his company had started to stagnate right after I joined. The products I planned hit the market successfully, skyrocketing sales, and rapidly increasing the company's reputation. I even got interviewed on TV as the planner. Compared to this thriving company, the president's company's performance had been lackluster. Being a traditional company, it failed to incorporate anything new and lacked buzz. Once seen as rivals, the difference between the two companies was now like night and day. Did you see me on TV? Is that why you hastily contacted me? Well, what was it again? Didn't you realize I had left or that your company's performance wasn't growing until you saw me on TV? I had a lot I wanted to say. Why did he ignore the harassment I was receiving? Why didn't he inquire when I had to leave abruptly for an unreasonable reason? But conveying that to the president now meant nothing. There's no need for me to be involved anymore, I stated firmly. Did you think I was unaware of everything? You're a spiteful person. Yes, our company is in a pinch. If you know that, come back quickly. The president's tone turned accusatory. I have no intention of leaving this company, I affirmed. Are you defying me? I was the one who transferred you, a low-ranked college graduate, to the planning department. Are you repaying my kindness with betrayal? The president's words stung, but I remained resolute. I am grateful for being placed in the planning department and offered many ideas and response. However, it was the president's kin who refused to accept them. How dare you speak to me like that? As the president raised his voice, the door to the reception room swung open. Ben has been of great service to us, boss. We're in the middle of something. I can't have you entering unannounced. With all due respect, it's also a nuance for our company when you come without an appointment. Occupy the reception room and tie up our valuable employee. A person of your level shouldn't be so arrogant. Who do you think I am? I spoke firmly to the newcomer. My apologies. May I offer you my business card? My boss presented a business card to the president. The president snatched it, and his face turned pale as he read it. My father is busy, so I came in his stead. I will be serving as the CEO from next year. My boss, like the manager, was the son of the company's president and an extremely capable person set to become the new president next year. I had no idea. No problem. We're grateful for the talented individual you've provided us. The president bowed, and I felt a sense of puzzlement as to why he seemed so anxious. However, we will have to decline the collaboration project you proposed recently, my boss announced. What? You said you considered it to help our company, the president exclaimed. I did consider it. Even though it's a rival company, seeing a traditional manufacturer falter doesn't feel right. Then why? The president questioned, only to be interrupted. Seeing the character of you and your daughter, I couldn't bring myself to support you. Please reconsider, my boss explained. The president desperately apologized, and the manager seemed to finally realize the gravity of the situation. Please help me out here. I'm sorry, the manager pleaded. It's my boss's decision. There's nothing I can do, my boss replied firmly. After that, the president and the manager were escorted out by security guards. Ben, I believe in you. I'll be waiting, the president shouted as he left. I just watched him go. Later, I heard that the manager's company's performance continued to plummet, making management difficult. The calls kept coming after that day, so I changed my phone number. Meanwhile, the company I work for continues to grow rapidly. I want to keep working here for the foreseeable future. Even if you attempt to trouble us, there's hardly any loss on your part, considering it's your funds, useless to poor people with lowly lineage. I sighed as I completed the final check. You're closing your account, right? Please, go ahead, I said with a tone that seemed mocking. Their eyes, filled with clear disdain, made me feel disgusted as they stared at us. I decided it was time to give those who judge others by their upbringing a taste of their own medicine. With that thought, I smiled. My name is Tiffany, a 29-year-old office worker. Currently, I'm living a peaceful life with my mom while working. My dad passed away from an illness when I was young. His chronic illness had worsened early. My father, who was involved in various businesses, was always busy with work, out early and back late. Even so, he treasured his family time, and I have fond memories of playing with him on his days off. Mom and I were initially shocked by Dad's death, but Mom, not wanting me to feel lonely, cherished our time together. Fortunately, when Dad fell ill, he made sure with the former CEO to secure enough funds for our livelihood. Thanks to that, I was able to go to college, and both Dad's and Mom's parents were very supportive, especially my paternal grandparents, who lived nearby, took great care of me when Mom was away at work. We still go back to both sets of grandparents for holidays like Christmas and spend time together. I am who I am today thanks to the support of many people. To give back, I went to a national university and got a job at a major company. I thought about working at the bank my dad was supposed to inherit, but I chose a career I loved. As you're being told, do what you love. I've already handed the bank over, don't worry about it. Thanks to a fulfilling home environment and the freedom to dive into hobbies, I had no interest in romance. But now, at a mature age, many of my friends are married with kids. This led me to think about marriage, and that's when a certain encounter happened. I never imagined this meeting would lead to a major incident. Hey, Tiffany, aren't you interested in love, huh? That was the starting point, a question from a colleague at work. We've been close since our rookie days. You know, I have an acquaintance who's struggling to find a match. He's well-educated and handsome. You're highly educated too, Tiffany. Maybe you'd like to meet him. I've always thought it's a waste for someone as eloquent as you, Tiffany. There are even a few people in the office who are after you. She has a wide network and always shares various stories. She's living with her boyfriend, whom she met at a party, and seems very happy. She's quite concerned about my lack of romantic involvement. I had even consulted her about marriage, leading to this arrangement. A few days later, I agreed to meet a man named Yves. The rendezvous was at a cafe, and as I waited nervously, a man approached me. Tiffany? Ah, yes, nice to meet you. You're Yves, right? I said, feeling a bit anxious. Yes, thank you for today. Yosef's expression was blank as he looked me over. It felt like he was sizing me up, and I was a bit taken aback. Then, taking a seat opposite me, he quickly started the conversation. What do you do for work, Tiffany? He inquired. I work in sales at a company. I've always enjoyed interacting with people and making use of my opinions, which is why I chose sales. I find it fulfilling, and I love the moments when customers are happy with their purchases. I replied, trying to ease the tension. What's the name of your company? He asked. I told him the name of my company. Upon hearing it, Is paused for a moment, then smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile, more like one of satisfaction. My company is quite a large enterprise with good performance. We're well trusted by our customers, he said, his tone slightly arrogant. Since he asked, I decided to return the question. What do you do, yes? At my question, Is snorted with pride and began to boast. I work at Sunrise Bank as a department head. Sunrise Bank is a really big bank, you know. The work is tough, not something ordinary people can handle. But since my dad is the CEO and I'm the successor, it's different for me. I felt a stir in my chest at Yosef's words. I was expecting a normal response, but Yosef's aggressively toned words made me feel uncomfortable. Indeed, Sunrise Bank is a major bank. I knew about Sunrise Bank due to a certain incident, but I was surprised to learn that East worked there as a department head. Wow, that's impressive. Sunrise Bank is a big place, isn't it? I flattered Yis on purpose. I saw no need to be rude, and though I thought this would probably be our last meeting, I figured it was better to be nice. Pleased with my flattery, Yis continued to boast about himself. Honestly, talking to him was painful. He did listen to me occasionally, but always turned the conversation back to himself, even making outrageous comments about his lack of romantic prospects. I'm quite popular, you know, but it's always people who don't match my family background or education level that come to me. I thought the problem might be his attitude, but I had already decided not to meet him again after informing my friend. As time passed, he still looked satisfied and made a suggestion. I'd really like to meet your parents, huh? But we just met today. That's exactly why parents' excellence is important, especially if we're going to date, right? Inside, I screamed. I had no intention of dating him, but he seemed oblivious to my discomfort and kept pushing forward. When are your parents in? Are you available? Ah, I'll have to discuss it with my mom. What about your dad? As Yeast pressed on, I felt a growing sense of disgust, but couldn't find the strength to cut him off. My dad passed away when I was young. At my words, Yeast narrowed his eyes. Suddenly, waiting for him to speak, Yeast just said, I see, and fell silent, pondering. Well, send me a date that works for you later. I'll adjust my schedule. No, thank you. Should we leave then? Before I could finish, Yeast stood up. It felt like talking to someone from a different world, despite my reluctance. I had given him my contact information and even discussed meeting our parents. His disdainful look upon hearing about my father's absence bothered me. In the end, we agreed to meet again with our parents. When I explained this to Mom, she smiled. Riley, maybe you were just nervous because you haven't dated before, she said reassuringly. Maybe, but the way he spoke was weird. Well, his parents will be there, right? Just say no if it doesn't feel right. I'll be there too, I replied, feeling guilty. Thanks, Mom. Sorry for dragging you into this, I apologized. Mom laughed heartily. It's okay. No need for you to feel bad. Besides, I'm curious about Sunrise Bank, so let's see how it goes. So, Is and I'd arranged a family meeting. At that time, I had no idea Is had planned the meeting for such a shocking purpose. On the day of the meeting, we arrived at the place Is had chosen. It was a fancy restaurant. It's a big place, isn't it? I remarked as we entered. Yes, it is, Mom agreed. Inside, our table was ready, but Is hadn't arrived yet. We entered and waited, and shortly after the scheduled time, Is and his family arrived. Sorry we're late. The traffic was terrible. Nice to meet you. Thank you for today. Yosef's family unapologetically took their seats. Irritated but not wanting to start a fight, I initiated the family meeting. After some time, Yosef's mom, Morgan, with a sly smile, spoke up. So, where is your father? Is he coming later? Huh? She inquired, looking around. I looked at Yes, but he just smirked dismissively and said nothing. I had already told him my dad was deceased. Morgan acted as if she didn't know, despite having agreed to meet our families. Mom quickly responded, in my stead, my husband passed away from illness when Tiffany was young. So today, I'm here as her mother, Mom responded with a calm smile. In contrast, Morgan raised her voice in an exaggerated manner. Oh my, Tiffany is from a single-parent family. Her words took me aback. Even after explaining that my father had passed away from illness, her tone clearly carried malice. Being from a single-parent family, life must be quite hard, huh? But she graduated from a public university. That's commendable, right? Really, but still, being from a single-parent family, wouldn't dating her be complicated? His family's conversation left Mom and me utterly dumbfounded. Despite being present, they spoke so disrespectfully, mocking us as if being from a single-parent family was something bad. Such words weren't suitable for a first meeting. Angered, I retorted in a low voice, excuse me, but after Dad passed away, Mom raised me with great care. I owe my current life to her. And isn't it rude to speak about someone like that when you've just met, Tiffany? However, Morgan burst out laughing at my words. Rude, isn't it? More absurd for the daughter of a single parent to think about marrying into a high-class family. I'm not really into strong-willed women. This is pointless. There's no getting through to them. Thinking this, I just stared at them in disbelief. I had high hopes since she works at a major company. Well, you'll eventually carry on Sunrise Bank, so maybe she's not quite at your level. As they hurled more insults, I felt no need to listen anymore. Trembling with anger, Mom glared at them. Did you invite us here today just to look down on us? I've heard from Tiffany about the other day. You're enjoying berating us for being a single-parent family, aren't you? Her words took me aback. Even after explaining that my father had passed away from illness, her tone clearly carried malice. Being from a single-parent family, life must be quite hard, huh? But she graduated from a public university. That's commendable, right? Really, but still, being from a single-parent family, wouldn't dating her be complicated? His family's conversation left Mom and me utterly dumbfounded. Despite being present, they spoke so disrespectfully, mocking us as if being from a single-parent family was something bad. Such words weren't suitable for a first meeting. Angered, I retorted in a low voice, excuse me, but after Dad passed away, Mom raised me with great care. I owe my current life to her. And isn't it rude to speak about someone like that when you just met, Tiffany? However, Morgan burst out laughing at my words. Rude, isn't it? More absurd for the daughter of a single parent to think about marrying into a high-class family. I'm not really into strong-willed women. This is pointless. There's no getting through to them. Thinking this, I just stared at them in disbelief. I had high hopes since she works at a major company. Well, you'll eventually carry on Sunrise Bank. So maybe she's not quite at your level. As they hurled more insults, I felt no need to listen anymore. Trembling with anger, Mom glared at them. Did you invite us here today just to look down on us? I've heard from Tiffany about the other day. You're enjoying berating us for being a single-parent family, aren't you? It was the first time I heard her speak so sternly. please stop with the accusations. It was just a little teasing, right? No one feels good being mocked, and all your remarks are condescending. We have no intention of listening to this any further. E's family looked displeased at Mom's clear statement. Presumptuous for commoners, huh? Indeed, that may be the case. But this has made up my mind. Ye's family looked briefly surprised at Mom's words, then burst into laughter. They seemed to be thinking, what can you possibly do? Mom sighed and began to speak. Actually, we have funds deposited with your bank, but we don't wish to entrust them to people like you. Oh, really? But we don't know your name, so it can't be much, right? It's probably insignificant. That's right. Even if you try to trouble us with your fun, it won't really affect us. Low-class poor people are not needed. I realized that even Mom's last attempt at reconciliation was in vain. But they continued to speak disdainfully, unaware. I sighed and made the final confirmation. We're closing our account. Okay, go ahead. Yosef's family responded with mocking tones and clearly disdainful expressions as they looked at us. I thought to myself, let's make those who judge others by their background suffer a bit. I smiled at the thought. Is that so? Then we will proceed as such. And please consider this meeting never happened, Yosef's family declared. Of course, I replied calmly, knowing we had no intention of marrying into a family with such prejudices. Well then, we will take our leave now, Mom, and I stood up. Oh, don't worry about today's bill. It's too expensive for you, they remarked. Is that so? Well then, with that, our family meeting ended. Later, I made a phone call. Weeks later, my mobile phone was flooded with calls from Yes. Of course, I had anticipated this and had no intention of answering. It was their own responsibility. I immediately blocked the number. A few days later, I received a call from Grandpa Kyle. Summoned by Kyle, Mom and I headed to Sunrise Bank in the meeting room. Ye's family, looking pale, was present. As soon as they saw us, Morgan stood up and rushed over to bow deeply. I am extremely sorry for what happened, she said. I didn't reply to Morgan's words, just smiled and began to speak. What exactly are you apologizing for? At my words, Morgan bit her lip hard, trembling with anger. That's understandable. There are too many things for which they should apologize. That's probably why she's feeling so frustrated. This whole situation started because I said we would close our account. That day, our account wasn't particularly large. Closing it wouldn't have caused much damage. But Kyle's case was different. Kyle managed the inheritance left by my dad at Sunrise Bank for our benefit. Kyle also had his own account there. If all accounts, including Kyle's and my dad's inheritance, were closed, it would total about $7,000 million. In other words, their disrespect decided the closure. And importantly, Kyle is the former CEO of the bank. Dad was supposed to take over the bank but passed away young, so the position went to Scott. I didn't know that Tiffany was related to the former CEO, Scott. Looking anxious, Yosef pleaded as if making an excuse. But that's no excuse. Even if they didn't know, their prejudice against our family is their own fault. You mean, if we were relatives, you would have treated us differently? Dad interjected. Hey, don't talk to Dad like that. It's your fault for not telling us from the start that your grandpa was the former CEO. I don't have any obligation to tell a stranger like you that. Besides, you were the one who started it and made fun of us, remember? I countered, causing Yosef to narrow his eyes in frustration. You insulted me knowing I was from a single-parent family. When I said I would transfer the bank due to insecurity, you told us to go ahead. We just did as we were told. But it's just that it may be just that for you. But have you ever thought about the feelings of someone whose family has been insulted? Silence fell. Morgan was trembling, looking hopeless, and Scott was hanging his head. But Yosef still seemed unconvinced, his face full of dissatisfaction. Getting all high and mighty just because people talk to you. Yosef remains unrepentant. At that moment, the door to the conference room opened and Kyle appeared. Seeing Kyle, Yosef's tone grew defiant, and Morgan turned even paler. Frozen in place, only Yosef glared at me. Even after giving you a chance to reflect, You're still only thinking about yourselves, Kyle said, his tone stern. It's not my fault. It's her. Watch your words. If you continue, you'll end up even more miserable. Yosef, silenced by Kyle's words, glared at me again. Then, as if resigned, he burst out, "No way. Who would think a single parent's relative was the former CEO? You knew I was the future CEO and came to the family meeting just to mock us." "Yosef, be quiet," Kyle glared sternly, causing Yosef to breathe heavily. "Future CEO, huh?" Kyle then turned his gaze to Scott, who shrunk even more under Kyle's stare. "I understand wanting to leave the bank to your son, but now that I know his mindset, it's impossible for him to continue as CEO." "That's ridiculous," Scott started to retort, but sat down again under Kyle's gaze. "You still don't understand that your attitude is the problem. Till I'm retired, the board will decide. If you have something to say it to them. Remember, we recorded the previous conversation, and this one. Don't forget that the voice recorder will serve as evidence." I took out a voice recorder in front of the three and pressed play. The recorder started playing back our conversation from the other day. "How dare you prepare something like that? It's unfair," Yosef exclaimed. "It was just a precaution, but remember, you forced me into this situation," I countered. Yosef had nothing to say in return, and their faces turned pale. "Thank you, we'll handle it from here," they said. So Mom and I left. Ultimately, Kyle didn't transfer the funds, at least not officially. Scott was removed from his CEO position, and Yosef was demoted. Seemingly unable to handle the blow to his pride, Yosef resigned voluntarily. Kyle's influence in the financial industry meant Yosef would struggle to find work in the same field again. Whether Scott knew this or not, he seemed determined to work until retirement, but Kyle said it would be tough for him both mentally and physically. Morgan, who used to wield power as the CEO's wife, apparently started part-time work to maintain her lifestyle, but her character likely made it hard for her to keep a job. "I'm really sorry," I said. "It's okay. You didn't know, right?" Mom replied. "I only shared what happened with a friend who introduced me to Yosef. She just heard about him through someone else and wasn't at fault." Mom was initially concerned about being a single parent, but I'm happy now and can live thanks to the support I've received. When I told her that, she smiled and said thank you. After everything was taken care of, Kyle told us to come over to his house again sometime. I'm really grateful for Kyle's help in resolving the situation. He was tough, but I'm happy now, so it's okay. "I have some good news for you," Mom said one day. "Really? It's not about dating again, is it?" I teased. "It's a friend of my boyfriend this time. He's definitely a good guy. I'm not interested in dating right now, but I'm satisfied with my current life. I want to keep cherishing those who support me. And maybe someday I'll meet someone I really click with."